Look, I opened this jar of rotten baby food, and well, a butterfly came out.
Well, did you hear about the new prescription that came out or the new medicine that came out to
Uh-oh.
stop lesbianism?
Okay.
It's called tricoxigen.
Welcome to the Comedians in Elevators podcast. I've got my guest, Steve Stanulis. Steve, say hi, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, what's up, Keenan? Excited to be on this because there's a lot, when people look at myself, it's more of a, either the acting world or the producer, director, or the former NYPD or the security to the stars. So I always get that's always the shtick or stuff like that, Chippendales. But
Okay.
it's a conglomerate of things. But I'm excited to be on this because it's a different premise for me. That's what caught my attention. So
Yeah.
it's fun. I'm looking forward to doing this.
Awesome. Well, so you ready to get started, Steve?
Let's go.
All right.
Are
So
we
the
allowed to
whole,
curse?
absolutely. I guess the first 15 seconds is a no-go on YouTube, but we're past that point. So
Yeah, it's fine.
we're good to go. Listen, to my regular listeners, I know you don't like when at the beginning of these conversations I ask you to subscribe. None of us like it. I don't like saying it. I don't like it being in here. But it's frustrating. You know what else is frustrating? It's also frustrating when I look in the back end of the YouTube channel and I see that 56% of you that watch frequently haven't yet subscribed. And I know this because I see it in the comments section. You say things like, I didn't know I didn't subscribe. And that's actually what fuels the show. Basically, it's like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask all the time, because it enables us to build and build and build, and we're going for the long term here. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll continue to build this show for you. That's my promise. Thank you to all you guys that do subscribe. It means the world to me. So the whole point of the podcast is to compare and contrast the comic versus the comedian. So
Hmm.
I define the comic as any person telling funny jokes versus the
Okay.
comedian who's a funny person telling any jokes. So Steve, would you agree that you start as a comic and evolve into a comedian?
I would say that would be pretty much how things morphed. I would say that would be the good order of things. Absolutely.
All right. So you ready for the first question?
I am.
All right. So it's about the role of persona in comedy. So how much of the comedian's voice is a character versus their real self?
As far as percentage wise?
Yeah, percentages are good if you can, if it makes sense.
Yeah, sure. I would say at least 80%. The voice as is used and 20% of themselves.
Interesting. So is that, how'd you come up to the number 80? Like, how is that make
Well,
sense?
again, knowing a lot of bigger comedians, again, I'll throw Sebastian Maniscalco out there. It's more about his shtick and his voice than opposed to who he is in real life. So I would say absolutely knowing him and knowing quite a few comedians. It's especially ones that have shticks. It's
Mhm.
more about the voice. Absolutely.
Got it. Okay. So then does authenticity matter or is illusion part of the magic?
I would say authenticity matters, but I would say illusion is definitely a bigger part of the magic. It's like Ringling Brothers. Step right up. You know what I mean? Come see the bearded lady. So I would definitely say it'd be more of, you know, absolutely the second one.
So uh is the character magical? Is that what you're is that true? A true statement that I'm making?
Yeah, the camera, absolutely. Again, somebody who's worked with Adam Sandler. Not to throw names, continue to throw names, which I'm not trying to do. Um, Absolutely, because Adam is one of the most genuine guys you can ever meet. Camera goes on, from Little Nicky, stuff roles like that. It goes right into that particular character. So absolutely.
Interesting. So are we getting to some kind of metaphysical state of being that authenticity and magic are really the natural state of the universe? I know I'm getting crazy, but would you say that's a true statement?
That's pretty deep.
Yeah.
I would say that is a true statement. Yes, I'm gonna say yes. That's my answer.
Final answer. All right. Punching up versus punching down. So, where do
Okay.
comics versus comedians stand on this? And let me put it in some historical context. Did a jealous medieval prince become the first comedian by killing the court jester?
These are some really deep questions. I would say yes. I would say yes because if he was the only known funny guy, the court jester, and then you turn around and you actually have to, now you're the guy. So
Hmm.
yes, I would have to say killing the court jester would make you the comedian. Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely a dark way to go, but that has the same end result. So, would you say the audience agreement with the comedian is a form of permission or alignment?
I would say they probably yes because they probably get afraid they'd get killed as well. Um, but do they know that he was killed? They killed the Colchester, or did they know the premise of who the person was, meaning the prince that killed him?
I mean, assuming it was done in court where everyone witnessed it, they should know all the actors, all the participants. So yeah, I could
They
consider it
should
to
know the
be a
players. Then yes,
yeah,
then
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
sure that they would agree. Absolutely,
All right, all right.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's potentially an episode on Game of Thrones, but I've only been called out once on that one. So,
It actually is very Game of Thrones. I was going to say something
but,
and age myself. I was going to say very Excalibur.
oh yeah, really, you're going back centuries?
I'm going back that, yeah. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. So I'm going to say that very Excalibur, very
All right.
Merlin.
Mm-hmm. He's the official magician, right? All right. So,
That's right.
cultural translation of comedy. So, how do jokes that work in one country bomb in another?
That's another great question. Which I had the answer to as well. And again, I kind of refer to filmmaking as well. We'll go back to Sebastian. Sebastian has a great shtick. Why? Because someone being from the Italian, nationality, growing up where I did in Staten Island and Brooklyn and stuff, and being Italian and you know, uh, seeing what he's talking about, I could totally relate to that. So it makes it funny to me because that was me. That was my father. That was my, with the when he looks at the wedding and to see what cards they get and how much that person gave, and that used to happen. So it's funny. The Entenmann's cake. Somebody would come over. We all can relate to that. You go to China, they'd be staring at you in silence because they can't. There's no relation to that. So it absolutely does matter. That's why a lot of things don't translate, other than two things: horror and action. Because something that's funny here is not funny there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so with the
Beady,
horror
beady,
thing,
beady,
there's a
beady.
lot of it's almost more developed in the more of the eastern
Well,
side.
something scary, right? Or someone's
Right.
getting killed, or somebody's in. It's equally scary somewhere else. Or if I'm chasing you in a car in a high speed chase, and we're racing through an expressway, and it's the same action. We all get it. But if you're talking about my mother's sentiments cake when I was in the '80s when I had guests, might not translate.
Absolutely. All right, so we got a new question. How
Mhm.
does the silence when your joke doesn't land hurt? Physically, emotionally, or morally?
I would say morally. I would say morally. I've never had the
The
distinction of going up
pleasure,
on stage and
the pleasure
or
of
the
the pain,
pleasure, distinction, the pleasure of
the
of
pleasure
doing
of
a
the pain.
stand-up routine. But again, it's saying a joke that just doesn't land and you get crickets, you know, it's very intimidating. And again, it would kind of be a blow to my ego. I would think if there's something I put especially if it's something that I thought was like a home run. Like you have jokes that kind of, you know, take you through the show, but then there's ones that's supposed to be like the bangs, the booms, the jabs and the knockouts. So if you would give a knockout punchline that just doesn't quote unquote land, I would think that internally you got to be like, I'm in trouble here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But you said morally. So is your ego identified as a moral? You have a moral compass for that?
I would say only speaking personally, I do have a moral compass for that, and it would really, it's equivalent to again, I hate to keep comparing stuff to movies because but writing a scene that you think is a home run, and you're in the theater with everybody for the first time, and it just doesn't land the way you thought it was going to land and hit the audience the way you thought. It's morally egotistic in every which way. It's a blow.
Perhaps shame is the right word.
Shame might be taking it a little too far.
Okay.
Shame, I mean, it would be more ego blowing. It would be morally um, not. I would say ego wise, morally, it's just something that you probably really believed in as the artist, as the comedian, and it just it didn't land,
So
and
it's
it's
demoralizing. That's really the
it's
the word.
demoralized. It would be more
Demoralizing.
demoralizing. Absolutely. Definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
All right. Very cool. All right. So crowd work versus crafted work. So if comics riff like influencers in the comments section and comedians perform like in reaction videos, where's the sweet spot?
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of good questions. Where do they land in a sweet spot? I would have to say in the middle. I would have to say, again, because technically the people that are responding in real time, to responding to what you're saying and as you're going through your routine, are kind of technically still the audience, right? Whether they're sitting right in front of you or they're home watching you, and you're doing some sort of shtick, whether it's a video, whatever, uh, and everything you're doing is getting negative response or comments. I would say the equal. I would say it'd be right in the middle.
All right. So what happens when a comic leans too much into crowd work?
I never dug that. I know there's a lot of comedians that do that. That their whole shtick is going through the crowd and um, and again, I don't want again. I hate throwing names and stuff, but um, I don't mind when they break character or break a routine, and if somebody's either heckling them or and look a certain way or what have you to stop and focus on that person for a while.
Mhm.
I had seen Andrew Dice Clay when he was in his heyday, and there was this poor guy I'll never forget. He had orange hair. I mean, like red. He was like carrot top. Had hair like that, but natural. And the whole show, he would be in his routine and then go right back to this poor guy with red hair. Hey, how do you get laid with that hair? And blah, blah, blah. And then go back into his shtick. Um, I don't like somebody. What's his name? Matt Rife? Is that Matt
Mhm.
Rife?
Yeah, he
I
does it a
I
lot.
I don't enjoy just watching him sit and talk to different people and say, "Hey, what's your name?" And then go back and forth and banter. To me, it's not as entertaining.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to make your whole show about that. I mean, but that's what he does.
You have to be a
So
great improv person, though. You have
yeah.
to be somebody who's great at improv because you don't, you don't know. Like if I come up to you and speak to you and you say whatever you say to me, I don't know what you're going to tell me or what you're going to say or what your situation is. Now I have to go equally come back. Now I have to come back to you with something that's not only funny, but that's relevant. So
Mhm.
it's definitely hard, and it might be even harder because it's not just being a comedian. It's being somebody who's good at improv.
Yeah, there's one trick to that, but he definitely takes it back. Is just and you just ask, how does that work? How did that turn out? How did that what is a result of whatever they said, right? But at a certain point, you keep throwing that back, and you sound like an idiot because you have nothing else to say. But
Right,
that basically that's the only technique you can guarantee that at least you'll keep it going. So, but he
right.
doesn't do that.
No,
So that's good.
absolutely. What do you think of that?
That's it. It's just I've done it, and there's that one tool you can use, but it's you can't repeat it over and over again because then you're using the wrong tool after the first
What
time.
do you think
So
about Rife?
I think it's a very difficult. He once you capture that, once you know how to use that first tool, and then you can build new ones, and you're good at that. Then yes, you'll be able to succeed, and I think he is, even though it's very difficult what he's doing. So I
Do
give him
you think? Let
points.
me ask you a quick question then.
Uh-huh.
Comedian wise, do you think comedians that pigeonhole themselves in a certain shtick uh, are either benefiting by that niche and going with that specific niche, or just comedians that are known for being a comedian and go on and do a stand-up routine? For example, remember like Sam Kinison, right? He was just like that was his thing. You remember Sam
Hmm.
Kinison,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Or somebody like that comes out like Paul Schneider and just comes out being funny. Or again, somebody more recent like um, Sebastian Maniscalco, he has a certain that's it his shtick, that's his thing, and that's what you go with. What do you think is more successful?
So I think I mean, whoever, at the end of the day, whoever can maintain it is the more successful one. But the reason why there's not too many that oscillate between is because it's a totally different mental space, right? You're
Hmm.
going from structured and you're kind of flowing to breaking that flow completely, and now you're taking the energy from other people, and that transition is super challenging to do, and so it'll throw you if it goes off the rails, and so most people don't do it. That's why you see, he just does one, right? He's just doing only crowd work because to do both is just super super difficult.
But
So
as somebody who comes in as a certain more of a character than
right.
somebody that just comes out and is just a funny guy, um, what
Well,
do you
that's
think is
different,
what do you
right?
think is easier to succeed at?
Well, if you don't know, well, having a character, so that's really the comic versus comedian, right? So the comedian, I'd argue, is the character, and the comic is the one that tells the jokes. You can be both, obviously, and so that's the sweet spot is between those two. Is how do you transition from a character who may not actually have any jokes, but is just inherently funny, kind of clumsy,
Right.
maybe just says stupid things that he doesn't even know he's going to say, but then you have
Hmm.
the structure part where these jokes should land, right? And they're
Hmm.
relevant, but they're two different mental spaces.
No, all right, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So that's how I
That
see
makes
it.
sense.
Okay, very important question.
Hmm.
Advertising and self promotion. So, who advertises themselves more? The comic, the comedian, or the magician? You know that place where you're not conscious and you're not sleeping either? That's your power bill to the electric company. Right here. I want us to be here with free energy, where the Wardenclyffe Tower meets the Eiffel Tower. But that's not where we are. We are here, where you've got the utility and you've got residential solar. Between these two, we know which one saves you money. This is where we can go in the meantime. But this is where I want us to be now, and this can be done now. So let me deputize you to represent DOSE, Department of Solar Efficiency, and let's get on the podcast to get the message out today. See you soon.
Who advertises themselves? But the comic, the comedian, and the magician. I would say the I would say the comedian. I would say the comedian. And there's many reasons for that, especially today. because you could do TikTok, but you could do constant, especially guys I know that's trying to move up the ladder, that are always creating TikTok videos, creating different shticks. Um, yeah, I would say comedians,
Okay.
definitely.
So is self promotion seen as selling out, or is it
No,
necessary for survival? I
not in
see.
today's day and age. Not in today's day and age. Absolutely not. I mean, with social media, there's never been an opportunity to get yourself seen, and I'm sure you know people as well. There's comedians that are self-made from social media. So if you have that tool and that platform, why not use it? I mean, we're talking right now because of social media, technically.
Mhm.
Um, so why not use that if you can?
That's what I say. Absolutely. All right. So censorship and offense. So does a comic avoid offense while a comedian courts it to prove a point, like a magician?
I think so again, I my point of view is if you got to worry about going on stage and offending somebody by saying anything, whether it's a race joke or any type of joke, political joke, what have you, then I think you're selling out and you're selling yourself short because you know what? Um, they bought the ticket, they came, if whether they're familiar with your act or not, it's a comedy. Get the fuck over it, right? We had to have fun. You know what I mean? So I think anybody that doesn't hold true to their act or pulls out certain material they might think is offensive, that's a sellout to me.
Interesting. So, what if at that moment they pull out the material because they realize maybe not that they don't want to offend, but it's probably not good enough at this moment. For example, say I have a lesbian joke and maybe I told it, but there weren't too many lesbians in the crowd, and all of a sudden now you have way more than you expected, and you're like, I don't know if this joke is going to land. So, is that selling out if you pull that joke out?
Well, did you hear about the new prescription that came out or the new medicine that came out to
Oh,
stop lesbianism?
okay.
It's called tricoxigen,
Aha. There you
which is
go.
they, how about that? Remember that tricoxigen.
Yeah, I like it.
Again, if
Again.
that's what you base your whole act on that particular night, unless you know you have a bag of other
Right.
stuff that you can pull out, or a plan B. I don't know if comedians have plan Bs to go to.
Yeah,
But if
absolutely.
that's my A game for that night, then that's what I got to go with.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. Yeah. If
I
that's all
don't. I
you
think
got, you're stuck on the
right. Or even if you have a plan B that's not up to par with plan A, you got to let the dice roll.
yeah.
1,000,000%.
So then who survives better in a cancel culture environment? The comic, the comedian, the magician, or the mudslinger?
Hmm. Well, I mean, how can a magician really ever offend someone? What can he actually do? I mean, cut somebody too low by their genitals as he's cutting the box in half, and someone's going to get offended by that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just the easiest, lowest hanging fruit you're giving me because I've never heard in a cancel culture how a comedian could offend anybody unless he's picking 10 people from the audience every act, and he only takes white women, or he only takes African American men, or in a crowd that's very gentrified. So my answer would be the magician.
All right. All right. So timing and delivery, is it a science or an art? So do comics rely more on structure and comedians more on rhythm and emotion?
I think timing and delivery is a total talent. I mean, knowing how to deliver, when to deliver, hold people, in mid joke to a certain time, and then bang, drop it on them. I think timing and delivery is definitely more of a talent. I think absolutely.
All right. Okay. So laughter versus applause. So are comics chasing laughs and comedians chasing applause breaks or a primetime Emmy that validate the message?
You're saying are they chasing laughs, uh,
Or
applause,
applause?
or Emmys?
Well, yeah, the applause breaks or even a primetime Emmy. Yeah.
Ooh, I would say comedians are chasing laughs. I mean, their whole shtick is based on making people laugh. So again, if every time he said something funny, everybody went like this, it would be awkward. I would say, so to speak. So I would say comedians are chasing applause. Um, I'm sorry. Let me refract that. Comedians are chasing laughs. 100%. 100%.
And
Especially,
comics.
I think, especially like going into a huge comedy club. I mean,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's great. I get a stand up, at the end of my set. It's great to have everybody stand up and give me a stand up ovation. But I would much rather have people clap at the end and give me laughs every time I was supposed to land something and it landed properly.
Okay. That obviously makes sense. All right. So,
Right?
Steve,
Yes,
are you ready to enter the multiverse?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Board
I
game.
thought I was with this
I
elevator.
know we're in the space elevator, but
I'm
we're
in the
not
space
yet.
elevator right now, and you're asking me if I'm ready to join the multiverse.
It's to enter the multiverse. Yep. We got to step out into the multiverse. All right. Board game Zoomcast, play versus performance. So, if comedy were a board game Zoomcast, are you competing as the colorist, adding tone, mood, and shading, or the Foley artist, building punchlines with soundscapes and timing?
Okay. I would say personally, um, I would say the colorist. I would say the colorist. Because it sets the tone and everything for the way everything kind of lands. Just like behind me, well, a little bit
Mhm.
behind you. I mean, if we were just doing this right now and I had a normal background, or you did as well, um, we'd have the same dialogue. It would be just as interesting. But this whole thing kind of adds, even the way you look and the way you're dressed, um, it kind of adds to the whole shtick of the podcast. So if you came in, with a baseball cap and a tank top, and we were doing the same thing, it would be the same conversation, but this makes it more intriguing. So this is technically what you're doing, and what right now you're the colorist, and that's what makes your podcast different than somebody else's who's doing something a different topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why I'm doing it. So, does comedy work better when it's painted vividly or when it's orchestrated sonically?
I think even. I don't think that really matters. I think they both can land if either of them are done correctly.
All right. All right, so here in the Comedians and Elevators podcast, we have a tradition where the previous guest asks a question for the next guest. And the
Right.
previous guest was Johnny Olson. And his question for you, Steve, is what's better on a talk show, prepared material or
Oh,
improvised brilliance? There we go.
that's that. How come the easiest question I got was asked by somebody else? 100% do not know what's being asked. 100% improvisation, because there's nothing more robotic than me coming on, even with you, Keenan, and
Hmm.
you giving me a list of everything you're going to ask me today. Because it's just very mundane, robotic. Coming on, not knowing what's going on and what I'm going to be responding to is 10 times more genuine uh, than anything could ever be. Knowing something prior, 100%.
So I actually made these questions this way. So at least it's twice as more interesting if you don't know, but not 10 times more because, you know, if you read these questions, it's the same questions I ask every time. They're very complicated, right? So you really don't have an answer. Very few of them have a direct answer, right? So you got to come up with
Right.
something interesting to say, right? So that
Right.
makes
Right.
it
Absolutely.
going.
Absolutely. I
All
agree.
right.
Agreed.
Huh? All right. So
I totally
last
agree.
question. Last question is about legacy. Who gets remembered? Will the comics Type 5 survive time, or will the comedian's cultural point of view be more timeless?
That's another good one. I'm going to say what was the first part of the question?
Will the
I don't
comics
like number.
Type,
I don't like the number two. I don't like. No, the
you
point of
don't like
view
the
is I think
cultural
more
point?
timeless. No. So
Okay.
what was the first one?
So the comics Type
Sorry.
5,
I would say the comics type five would
that's
last
going to
more than
survive?
the test of time. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I would say
See,
that for many different reasons. Only because a lot of times what's in now, um, just something as short of 5 years could be totally different. You know, might not be relevant. So I
right.
would say definitely. Question one. I'm
So,
sorry. Answer one. Question.
yeah.
My answer would be number one.
Well, let me push back just a little bit because most people would reference number two as their answer by saying their example is George Carlin. So, would
Mhm.
you agree that George Carlin has a cultural point of view?
I would agree, George, but he's one. He's one of
Right. He's the only one.
millions, right? I mean, so if you could name 10 of them,
Right.
I would say, all right, maybe I'm wrong. But if your example is one comedian who by the way, is George Carlin is brilliant.
Right.
Um, you know, he definitely has a great culture point of view, and yes, but for every George Carlin, there's nobody else.
Right.
So that would be. I think my answer would still hold because
Right.
there's not too many George Collins.
All right. So, Steve, where can everybody find you online?
But where can't they find me? So again, you on Instagram at Steve Stanulis. Definitely don't let me know when this is coming out because I have a pretty extensive following, Keenan, for
Yeah,
you to
absolutely.
share your work, and we'll follow each other anyway. Because anything you do, and I'll be more than happy to share. But that's Steve Stanulis. On Instagram. It's Steve Stanulis on Facebook, TikTok. Everything's all Steve, and then my last name Stanulis, Stanulas.
Awesome. Well, Steve, thank you so much for being my guest. And for everyone, please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. If you're interested in too much information like in the network state or Mantipus the chicken shit, check out this video. Or is it this one right here? Well, either way. Lizard